Once you hear this, act fast.
More than 200 air raid sirens still pepper the LA landscape. First installed during World War II, they took on an even darker significance during the Cold War. On the last Friday of every month, at exactly 10 a.m., the sirens wailed for 2 minutes. A test, but also an ominous reminder that the unthinkable could happen at any moment. To explore how Cold War anxieties shaped Los Angeles and its suburbs, I met up with Claremont McKenna historian Lily Geismer.
These air raid sirens, they're a permanent feature of the landscape, but what would they have done?
They would have sent out a sound to tell people to duck and cover. The city actually tested them every Friday at 10 a.m. To coincide with children who did those duck and cover drills every Friday as well. The message is, especially with the kind of educational materials that the Civil Defense Administration put out, was very much to say that if you take these actions, you can protect yourself against a nuclear attack. And the reality is this probably would not be true, but I think it was there to create a certain sense of security and the sense of being prepared.
Our cities are prime targets for atomic attack, but mass evacuation would be disastrous. An enemy would like nothing better than to have us leave our cities empty and unproductive.
I think people often think of LA as being for its entertainment industry, but really in the post-war and Cold War period, it was the epicenter of the aerospace industry, and especially the aerospace defense industry. And so this is where most of the large-scale work was done. So that made many people fear that it would be one of the crucial sites for an attack by the Soviet Union.
LA wasn't just a source of soft power represented by Hollywood. It was a source of hard power represented by all these aerospace companies.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where they were headquartered, and they were both manufacturing weaponry, but also it's where they were doing their research and development of those weapons as well. And it wasn't just building the planes and things like that. It's all the electronics that went into really building up the U.S. defense capabilities.
When you see some of these old vintage Cold War or nuclear preparation films, they're easy to ridicule, but the possibility of a nuclear strike on Los Angeles was a terrifying reality.
Yeah, I think it's a really important part of it that people often think about when they think of 1950s suburbia as this time of security, complacency, conformity. But the other side of it is one of intense anxiety, and especially this intense anxiety about a nuclear attack.
If you are at home when a surprise attack occurs, crawl beneath a table if it is very near, or drop to the floor with your back to the window.
So if the government had these preparedness programs, it had these air raid sirens going off once a month, that created all this anxiety in people. Is there an element of social engineering to that?
I definitely think there's a component of that. And I think there's a couple things that are interesting about it. One is this idea that you're sort of creating the idea that like average citizens are on the front lines. And that does create a kind of a sense of compliancy or obediency. And that to me is actually one of the things that's like most amazing about it, or about the kind of post-war era, was this kind of faith in government, that like the government is telling us what to do and we will listen to them.
Wouldn't it be best to just get out of the city?
No. If any evacuating is to be carried on, the proper authorities will decide it. We'll be notified and get orders and instructions. Right now, the safest place for us is right here.
What, if any, impact did the Cold War have on the built environment in Los Angeles?
LA already had a tendency to decentralization, but even before the Cold War, there was fear of just conventional bombing
during
major
World
cities.
War II, for instance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're right here on the Pacific Ocean. Next country over is Japan.
Absolutely, and so one of the fears was you would put manufacturing or industry concentrated in dense areas, and so you then have to build housing for the people who live there. So there's a large amount of government subsidy that's coming through, but also the corporations themselves were actively wanting that kind of development to happen. So this really does help to reshape the suburban landscape.
Air raid sirens made no effort to blend in. Being conspicuous was the point.